I'm petting you, but you look unsure. But if I stop... So you're into this? Okay. I'm just asking for consent, you know? I don't want to make you uncomfortable with my love. Hi, kids. Welcome back to another pizza party. I'm Mrs. Pizza. This is Winnie. And Cheese is somewhere. Cheese is somewhere in this house. But I don't feel like finding her right now. First things first, let's discuss how beautiful my hand looks. Honestly, let's discuss that I did my makeup with one hand. So even though it's not a lot, even though I didn't go full cat eye or anything today, I'm very proud of myself that I was even able to accomplish normal human complexion while my dominant hand looks like this. What happened was Winnie and I were on a little walk and I was wearing, oh, here she comes. Hi, Cheese. You look great. Winnie and I were on a little walk and we walked past this dog one time and she was like, yeah, seems like a cool dude. And we kept walking. And then they were obviously traveling the opposite direction in a circle as we were. So when we encountered them the second time, I was wearing sandals and standing on gravel. And Winnie said, no, that guy, and decided to yank me as hard as she could. Thankfully, I did not let go of the leash. It's more of she's very loud. She likes to make a lot of noise and put on a big show. But if a dog actually gets close to her, she's a big fat chicken. So, yeah, I fell down real bad. Looks great, doesn't it? Nothing makes you feel more youthful and graceful than just totally wiping out in front of other adults who are genuinely concerned. If I ever fall in front of you, I plead with you, even if I am profusely bleeding, to just laugh. I need someone to laugh and lighten the mood because when you're seriously injured and everybody's really concerned, it's highly embarrassing. But I survived. So wish me luck this week because this is gonna be interesting. Let's talk about what we're gonna do this week. I am hopefully out of a reading slump. I think I'm like clearing the hill, cresting. I can see the horizon. I feel wide open space. I feel that I am free from it. Cheese is just licking my leg right now. What was I talking about? Oh. So in order to just kick this reading slump while it's down, I wanted to pick a few books to complete this week. Now, the first book that we're going to put on my reading list for this week, for my Let's Kill the Reading Slump reading list, is actually a little bit of a cheat, but I'm allowed to cheat because they're my rules. I am 364 pages into The Lives of Puppets by t.j.klune. I am so close to finishing, and nothing gives us that sparky, happy feeling like finishing a book. So before I pick another physical book to read, I want to finish this one. I'm really enjoying it. What I will say about this is, if you are a fan of t.j.klune books, I'm sure you will like this. It's not a new favorite. The House in the Cerulean Sea is definitely still at the top. Where is that book? It's still at the top of my list of favorites from this author. This book is so sweet and lovely and very found family. And I'm sure you've heard of it because I don't know. I feel like everyone's heard of it. It's a USA Today bestseller. It says so right there in the paperback. But this book is t.j.klune's most recent release. This is a Pinocchio retelling. And how it was described in the synopsis is basically we have a human named Victor who lives with an android and a couple of robots. I almost said it correctly. Did you hear it? It was almost robot. But I say robot and I can't change it. It's just how that word comes out of my mouth. Robot, robot, robot. He lives with his two robot friends and an android when they come upon another android. And then things occur, circumstances happen, but it's also a Pinocchio retelling. So it's that adventure going through those beats in a world full of robots and androids. So using sci-fi elements to tell really human stories. So far, pretty good. You know, tugs on your heartstrings a bunch. It's basically a lot of what it even means to be human, what it means to be friends, what family means. Yeah, no. But I'm really enjoying it. The back says, a real boy in his wooden heart, no strings attached. I'm going to probably say it's going to end up being a 4-star read, but I like it. I like t.j.klune books. You know what I will say, though? The other t.j.klune book I have read, which is Under the Whispering Door. This is still a very good book, but this is about loss and just all the different kinds of loss and just, it's so sad. I did not even know what I was getting into with this one, and I think I cried this entire book through. Whereas in The House in the Cerulean Sea doesn't have that same vibe. And this book, though it tugs at your heartstrings, is not such a kick in the gut. The next book that we're going to put on our reading list this week, which I am so excited, is going to be our Kindle or ebook for the week. So what I am about to download, because today is release day, and I might have put it on my calendar. I was that excited, is the newest book in the Mead Mishap series by Kimberly Lemming. And this book has been renamed, or is released under the name, because I think the original name was something different, but it is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human. This series is one of my absolute favorites. It is a fantasy romance series with a touch of adventure. It's hilarious. It's so funny. It has spicy bits. It's got everything you could possibly want. I am so excited for this new installment, and I can't wait. I can't wait. And the third book that we're going to put on our reading list this week is going to be our audiobook. And the book that we are going to start that just came through from the library is... Hey, quit with the licking. Nobody wants to hear your juicy mouth, you know? Gee, that was gross. It is called Crying in Mart, and this is by Michelle Zauner. This is a memoir. I'm not a huge fan of memoirs, but this one has just got a lot of really great buzz. I believe the author is the lead singer for a, indie... Are we choking? Do you need the Heimlich? She is the lead vocalist of an alternative pop band called Japanese Breakfast. This memoir actually came out in 2021, and every single person I've talked to that has read it has really, really enjoyed it. I feel like I'm very picky with my memoirs because they have to get a lot of really good buzz. I'm not a huge fan of memoirs, and so same with my thrillers. I like to be very, very picky with them because life's too short to read books you don't like. And if these are genres that I don't necessarily always gravitate to, I want to make sure that the book is going to be, 5 stars. Just 5 stars. And I feel like this is a good plan to kick the reading slump while it's down. We're going to just put it to bed for good, and we're going to read these 3 books. When I finish my physical book, probably either today or tomorrow, I'm going to pick up another physical book pretty quickly, but I don't know what that is yet because I'm a mood reader and I can't plan ahead. But I'm excited for this week. I'm excited to see how my dexterity works, how working like this is going to be. It'll be super fun times. But we're not mad at Winnie. Winnie's just a dog, and she's doing her best. She's a sweet baby seal, and we don't need to shame her for literally, it was like Charlie Brown. My feet went over my head, and this was pretty gross. Thank goodness for Mr. Pizza, because I was unable to even... You don't need any more details. Needless to say that I was a great big baby about the whole situation. I will check back in with you when I have made some headway in some sort of situation. I think I'm going to get a decent way through the audiobook because I'm going to be planting my garden this week, even though it's a little bit late because my raised beds are finally done. I'm also going to be reorganizing my TBR bookshelf this week. It's going to be a good week. I'm excited, Let's get into it. All right, well, apparently no dogs are joining me for this update. One is way over there. One is passed out right here. She's a little whiny. She doesn't feel great. The reason I'm here to chat is because well, first off, have finished a book, The Lives of Puppets by t.j.klune. I finished this one yesterday, and what I will say about this is I enjoyed it. This is a lot of conversations about love and loyalty and family that's blood and family that's found, and also kind of discussions on still loving someone as they lose their memories. Very similar to people that deal with family members that have dementia or Alzheimer's, I'm assuming, is what the message we're supposed to get there. And like most t.j.klune books, or as any book in the Klune universe, the Klune-verse is what I'm going to call it. Like most books that t.j.klune writes, they're very emotional and whimsical and tear-jerky. They pull on your heartstrings. Puppet strings. Get it? Pun. Love it. I am in the weirdest mood today, and I apologize in advance. I enjoyed this. I didn't love it as much as The House in the Cerulean Sea, but I did enjoy it more than The Whispering Door. Something Under the Whispering Door, I think, is the other one. This is a Pinocchio retelling, and my elevator pitch for this would be if Pinocchio and the Brave Little Toaster got mixed together in a bowl, but you made it for grown-ups. There you go. It was good. It was fine. I enjoyed it. Made me a little misty-eyed. You know, if you like t.j.klune books, then you know what you're in for, and it's right on par with all the rest. But that's where we come to our next little update. I was not able to get Kimberly Lemming's new book in the Mead Mishap series. That time I got drunk and saved a human. I tried my darndest to buy it off Amazon and was not able to. I think it's only available for ebook right now, and I wasn't able to buy the ebook at all. I tried multiple times, many different ways. It was not available to me. And then went on Goodreads and was, talking with people about this, and a lot of them were saying that the book was upwards of like $10 to sometimes even $15 to be purchased as a Kindle book. And as much as I love this series, that's a little steep. That's a little steep for like a 200 some odd page book. I'm really happy for her that she's been picked up by a publisher. I hope this gets more eyes on her because I love this series and I think she is it's such a fun series. She's such a fun writer. But that's a little steep. That's a little steep for not a physical book. So I put in a request at my local library, and it says that I'm like third in line for this book. So hopefully it shows up soon. But that leaves me without any book on my Kindle currently. So I decided to pick up When She's Wary, which is the latest installment in Ruby Dixon's Ristiverse series, because really I just wanted to read something that I knew I was going to like in a series that I really, really like. And this fits that to a T because I am a big fan of the Ristiverse. So this is the newest book in the Ristiverse, which is alien romance novels. I am very excited about this, and I think I'll go through it pretty quickly. I don't think our female character has been introduced in any of the books before, but our male character that is going to be the love interest in this book was introduced in the last book. Pretty sure it's his brother. It's a romance series, so they always introduce the next character before. I don't have to explain this to you. You understand, right? You get this. Because I have finished my physical book and I need to start another physical book. I actually started, this is totally random, but I picked this up when I was on vacation at a used bookstore, and this is The Girl Who Could Move Shit With Her Mind by Jackson Ford. It is, on the front it says Alias meets X-Men, and I loved it. This is the story of Tegan Frost, and she can move shit with her mind. The opening chapter basically is her falling, it's like 82 floors? Something like 82 floors with someone in tow, jumped out of a building, and then we have a record scratch and we back up 20 minutes and the next chapter is explaining how they got there. This is reminding me of that same humor that you get in I want to say Guardians of the Galaxy. Is that even right? I love when words just are not happening. This book came out in 2019. I actually saw the whole series because this is a multi-book series at the used bookstore. But there's been so many times where when I see something like that and I'm interested in the first book, I buy the whole series and I don't even end up liking the first book. So then I've got a whole series to get rid of. So I was that horrible person that literally bought one book when there was a complete series there. Please forgive me. If you are the next person and you're like, if only I had the first book, I'm sorry. I have it. It's mine, and I've started it. But so far, this is fast-paced and funny, and I'm going to say a little bit snarky, but I'm liking it so far. Something different. So right now I've got a memoir going on, a snarky, hilarious X-Men meets Alias situation, and what did I already say? Oh my God. Lord bless it, because where has her mind gone? I will hopefully update you soon when I've got a little bit farther into these. I'm worried about my brain capacity at this point because this was a mess. Hope you enjoyed. We're doing great. I'm doing great. Hope you are too. All right, hopefully the lighting is as beautiful out here as I think it is because it is a nice overcast day and it is beautiful outside and I want to be outside. So we're outside. The reason I ended up waiting an extra day to update you is because I was so close to finishing my second book. So I finished 2 books since we last spoke. The first book I finished is When She's Wary, the most recent book in the Aristoverse by Miss Ruby Dixon. And I 100% was right about this book. I enjoyed it a little bit more than the last one. This is the story of Tabitha, and she has been through a lot of horrible stuff, just like all the other women on Rista 3, and has turned into a very spicy, spitty, bitey kitty. She... And the only reason I keep calling her a kitten is because in the acknowledgments, the inspiration for her character basically came from Ruby Dixon's family adopting a cat. She is... she's a spicy, spicy kitten. She's very bitey and very paranoid, and for good reason. She's been through some really rough stuff, and she's got some trauma responses. I will say of all of the Ristaverse stories, we get a little bit of a peek into what happened to Tabitha before she ended up on Rista 3. It's very kind of quickly explained, but even though it's horrible, it's not gone into a lot of detail about what happens. She ends up on Rista 3 and immediately starts, putting nails in baseball bats and digging up pit traps. She is booby-trapped her almost entire yard, and her entire house is full of weapons. But she, through circumstances, ends up meeting our male love interest, who's a giant house cat, basically. The species of alien that he is very cat-like. And I will put his name up here for you, and you can try and pronounce it, because I'm pretty sure it's just Drew. I can never, ever pronounce any of these alien names. And then I hear the audiobook version, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how you would pronounce that. I don't know why it was so hard for me. This is fast and very insta-lust on our mailman character side. He meets her and is instantly intrigued and kind of likes that she is prickly, and once they start talking, he admires a lot of things about her. She's resourceful, she's smart, she's doesn't back down, she's a strong sense of will to her, and he likes that because he's always come across as super charming and easy to get along with and has been able to charm anyone in his path, and she's not so easy to charm. She's a challenge. These two strike up a very reluctant friendship. It's a very one-sided friendship in the beginning, with him trying to find excuses to come and visit her, see what she needs, bring her stuff from town, help her build booby traps. These two slowly fall for each other, and even though it's only I think this book is only 120-something-ish pages on the Kindle. So it's not that slow. It's more slow in that large just chunks of time are happening that we are just kind of getting and 6 weeks later and this many months later. And like all the Ristaverse novels, they get to the spicy bits, and the spicy bits is the spicy. The spicy bits are the spicy. If you like alien romances, I love the Ristaverse. This is one of my comfort series as far as romances go. I always know I'm going to enjoy, even the ones I don't like that much. I still really like all of the books in the Ristaverse. And, so I read it, and I'll read the next one too. And the next book I finished after that was my audiobook that I got from the library, and that was Crying in H Mart, and this is by Michelle Zauner, I believe is how you pronounce it. She is a somewhat famous musician. She is a Korean American. Majority of this novel, or this memoir, is about her relationship to her mother and how it was very complicated. Her mother and her had a lot of push and pull and friction, but the one point in their life where they both communicated and showed their love and found togetherness and a space to coexist was within food. This book has lots and lots of descriptions of food, some that I've heard of before, some that I've never heard of before, and immediately was Googling because I had to know what these things looked like. You cannot not be hungry while listening or reading this memoir. The amount of food described and how integral food is to not only Michelle's relationship with her mother, but her relationship to her heritage, how it connects her to the part of her that is Korean, and how it is something that her mother gave her that is then like a lifeline to this part of herself. That she was always adventurous with food, and that was kind of a pride point for her, but she wasn't always as enthusiastic about being half Korean, growing up in America, and being someone that looked different than everybody else. And now it's something that she takes a lot of pride in, knowing these restaurants, knowing these recipes, eating these foods, having this heritage. I would say this memoir is very straightforward, but in a good way. I almost would describe this as sitting down with a friend and having them divulge their life secrets, talking about the difficult relationship that they had with their mother. It feels like listening to a friend tell their story. It's not overly flowery, and even some of the sadder parts that you're going through with Michelle, you don't ever feel bogged down and kind of drowning in her emotions. Instead, she's very honest and raw about how she felt, what was happening. It's a very beautiful memoir, and I see why it got a lot of buzz. I really enjoyed this, and I recently found out that I believe it has been picked up and they are hoping to do a movie with this as well. But also I went on Spotify because I needed to listen to this music that this person created, and I was pleasantly surprised. I'd never heard of this person, and yet I enjoyed both their memoir and their music. I really, really like this. And if you are someone that likes memoirs, especially memoirs that involve food, if you are someone that likes Korean food, if you are someone that has a difficult relationship with their mother, all of these things, you will find something to relate to in this memoir. I really, really enjoyed it as well. And reading slump, what reading slump? She ain't here. I'm doing so great. So I've actually picked up another ebook. We'll see how fast I get through this bad boy. It kept popping up as something that was a cozy fantasy romance. Where are you? What is your name? It is The Keeper of Enchanted Rooms, and that is by Charlie N. Holmberg. This doesn't necessarily feel, I'm a little bit of a way into it, and this feels like a historical novel that's got a bit of magic into it. It seems like the magic system has been really thought out, even if it isn't excessively complicated. There's a little kind of blurb in the beginning of the book that gives you a breakdown of the different kind of forms of magic as they are all kind of broken down into different classes, what each class is capable of doing, what the consequences of using each power is, and those sort of things, like a quick little snippet, and then you get into the story. The prologue is involved with one character happening quite a bit before the actual story is taking place, but they're both happening in the 1800s, and I have a feeling that they're going to like rapidly approach each other and be interconnected somehow, but I don't know so far. So in our prologue, we have a character named Silas, and he is a very young man in the opening of the story, and he goes through some very horrible things pretty quick. Our other characters that are happening more in our, I'm going to call it our present day timeline, but it's still happening in the 1800s, is happening in Rhode Island. A young man in his 30s whose name is Merritt is estranged from his family, and then one day finds out that he has inherited a piece of property with a house on it in the middle of nowhere in the marshes of Rhode Island. And so he travels there, and just so happens that the house that he has inherited is enchanted. And so quickly after he arrives, not knowing at first that this house is enchanted, he encounters a bunch of kooky, wild, crazy, and kind of scary things happening. Furniture melting, walls moving, just crazy haunted house stuff. But soon after he arrives, a member of a magical agency whose name is Hulda, I believe. Is it Hulda? Who likes to be referred to as Mrs. Larkin. She is a housekeeper, and she's come to help Merritt tame this enchanted house. I have a feeling that Merritt and Hulda might eventually kind of form into anything. She's very stuffy and prim and by the rules. He's a writer. He's very artsy and funny and fun, but both have things in their past that I think they're going to want to talk about. So far, this is coming across more cozy mystery type feeling, which always aren't my favorite, but I think the added element of the magic system and the fantasy bit is really helping it. I also think that the going back and forth between the timeline where we have Silas that is happening years prior and then Merritt and Huldah happening more in a different timeline is also keeping my interest because I'm wanting to see how these two intersect. But so far, so good. It's, I doubt, going to be a new favorite unless all of a sudden this just takes off and starts rocking my socks off. I can see why people say this is cozy because it's happening in this house with this group of people, that it's a very insular spot, and even though the house is magic, it's very, very creepy. If you like kind of historical magical settings, this is giving that so far. I'll let you know how I feel about it because I'm just racing through some books right now. I think tonight that I'm going to pick up my physical book again since I have been going through my audiobook and my Kindle books pretty quickly, and I need to start working on that physical book. But I also just want to enjoy being outside. It's flipping beautiful out here. Especially this time of year, it's usually surface of the sun levels of hot here, and it hasn't gotten there. And the humidity has been pretty nice this week. So if it stays like that, I'm going to be staying outside and reading. That's what I'm going to be doing. Can I sit here? Ugh, there's something in my eyeball. Thought it was about time to round out this vlog, seeing as how it's the beginning of a new week. And I did read quite a few books this week, so I'm kind of proud of myself, but I'm ready to end this one right here. I did realize that although I gave you a basic, very, very basic kind of summary what this is, now that I'm almost at the halfway point, I can give you a little bit more about what The Girl Who Could Move Shit With Her Mind by Jackson Ford is about. I actually do think the little blurb on the front from Maria Lewis, whoever that is, watch it be someone incredibly famous that I've never heard of, but they are quoted as saying it's like Alias meets X-Men, and they loved it. It is like Alias meets X-Men, I guess. I would almost say this feels like if Elle from Stranger Things was like, you know, in her mid-20s and has never lived in Hawkins, Indiana. Isn't that where Stranger Things takes place? But our main character, Tegan, is a telekinetic, similar to Elle. So if you had Alias meets X-Men starring a character similar to Elle from Stranger Things, but the whole thing was directed by James Gunn. That is the vibe of this book. So far, basically what we learn is that Tegan has basically been found out as someone who can move shit with their mind. And when the government finds out, they subject her to a bunch of tests. But when they don't think that she could end up being a super soldier, she ends up working for this basically like special ops secret government organization that's super small. And everyone that works for this agency isn't necessarily like a trained super soldier, but someone that's got a lot to lose if they lose this job. They're all kind of in these tough positions and they need this job like bad. But that doesn't mean that everybody necessarily gets along. Something happens and Tegan and this group of people that she works for now have a little less than 24 hours to prove that something didn't happen. And there's a ticking clock. They're all running around trying to figure out what happened, how they can prove Tegan's innocence. Do some of them think she's innocent? They don't know. But you're also getting the point of view of Jake, who is our antagonist. He's our bad guy, kind of, but is he a bad guy? You're kind of also aware of things that the other side doesn't know about because you're getting the different points of view. It's moving pretty quickly. I mean, I've almost hit the halfway point. And if you like that James Gunn kind of vibe, that humor, slapstick, it's not even slapstick. How would you even describe, if you've seen a James Gunn movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about, where it's like funny, but action packed. There's definitely like record scratch moments, but so far a decent enough time, you know? I'm interested to see where it goes. But I have not picked up my ebook in a minute. I think I want to get through this one first. And I haven't been able to figure out what I want to listen to next on audiobook. I've picked up a couple of things, but haven't committed to anything. I mean, thank goodness for the library, because I'm just like listening to 4% of a book and going, I'm not feeling this right now, and returning it. And then picking up another book, listening to 5% and going, I'm not feeling this, and returning it. So I don't know what I'm in the mood to listen to right now. But I think that the reading slump might be dead. Don't let her hear you. She might return. But I think she's dead for now. And I am very, very happy that she is gone. I'm going to hopefully keep up this pace of reading for a while, because my physical TBR is out of control. And I actually need to go through and clean out some stuff and reorganize, because there's a lot of books that people have just given me because they're like, oh, you like to read? And they give you books and it's nothing that you'd ever be interested in. But you're just kind of like sitting there with a huge stack of books saying, thank you. And you don't even look at it till you get home. So I definitely need to clean out my TBR shelves here soon. But that, kids, is going to be the end of this pizza party. If you feel like hanging out again next time, please subscribe. I hope you're reading good books out there wherever you are. And I'll see you next time.